You are listening to Revealing Real Estate Podcast, where we dive into getting over your fear of taking risk in real estate and making money while you sleep. I'm Nico Pedizano, your host and real estate guru with over 20 years of experience. It's time to get real. All right, so we are going to have a wonderful guest on the show today, a gentleman named Vince Gaetano from Our Mortgages, who a lot of people know from our Tuesday live show on Instagram, Revealing Real Estate. Me and Vince have been kind of partnered up for a couple of years now, I say, Vince. Hey, welcome to the show, first and foremost.
Yeah, nice to be back on.
Yeah.
You've changed things around a little bit, which looks good.
Yeah, we did. We're growing the show, so it...
Getting me up in Nobleton's a lot of work. I went through some dead zones on Highway 50 with my cell, and I guess that's what it's like up here.
You know, when you do the show on Zoom, like a lot of times we can connect a little bit more. Even when we do the live show, you do it from your office, I do it from here. But it's just not the same interaction. I think we get a different feel when we're with each other, right? Our energy is different, right? So we feed off each other a little bit more.
I love it.
Which is great. But why I love having and working with you and doing a lot of this is because of your knowledge base that you really put into taking that time to do your research and really putting out really good educational content to consumers. And I do believe that you do a lot to help out, and I try to do the same from my perspective. And I think that's why people really relate to that. It's not just about talking, how many sales I do or what my numbers are as a real estate agent. For me, it's about how can I provide, and I know it's the same for you. How could we provide to give back and pay it forward through the knowledge that we do? Because this is what we breathe, real estate, and this is what the show was based upon, right?
Well, Nick, I've always really liked data. I really like data, behavioral aspects to help people do things. And when you put it all together, I try to come up with some conclusions. And, I think trying to help people make sense of all this data that's coming at us every day, every hour, about this stat and that stat and what does it all mean. Like, you can't make decisions just on one data point. You kind of have to assess everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I've really focused on and tried to create a narrative that people could kind of understand, make some sense of it, and then make a decision based on how they feel about the data.
Right.
And it's helped people really well. Unfortunately, the data these days isn't the greatest. So you have to bring that
shitty,
out.
really. It's shitty because you don't know. It's confusing. And sometimes you get markets that all of a sudden the data looks good, everything's optimistic, people are positive, people are selling, people are buying, and then all of a sudden, unexpectedly you start getting interest rate hikes, and then it puts another freeze within the market. People become very fearful, very easy, start listening to the media. All that stuff starts to take place. And what I like from your perspective is that you scrutinize it all to say, oh, hold on, let's just really put some perspective to all this, right? Well, at least try to anyway.
Having worked in the media for 19 years on CP24, one thing I learned was that the media has a philosophy, and that philosophy is if it bleeds, it leads. So they're always trying to get eyeballs to the shock value. And what I've tried to do is try to peel back the onion a little bit and try to figure out, okay, why are they presenting it this way? Like, for example, let's talk about the government for a minute, right?
Yeah.
They're parading and they're celebrating all these victories, and they're saying, well, GDP is very strong. GDP is growing, gross domestic product.
Yep.
That's production of what's happening in Canada. But is it really doing well? Like, I drill down into some stats, and per capita, we're now negative in gross domestic product, which means we're the shittiest G20 nation when it comes to productivity. But our GDP is growing. Why is it growing? It's because the pie's getting bigger. Population's coming in. We're growing as a population. So all this immigration that's coming in, they consume stuff. They buy stuff. They buy products. They eat. They need stuff. So the productivity is shrinking per capita, but it seems to be growing. That's the narrative the government uses. It makes people believe that things are good.
Right.
But as we know, when we deal with a client who is a household, for the most part, we see the struggles. We look at them directly in the eyes, and we know their pain points. We know that they got less money to spend. They have less discretionary spending. They're spending more money on debt. These interest rates are carving the soul out of people because they just can't do what they used to do freely anymore. And the walls are closing in. And, you know, I've been calling for the third and fourth quarter to be very painful. But let's work together to help people plan for it, because it's just going to be a period of time that's going to be bumpy, but we'll get through it.
Mm-hmm.
So if people are prepared for it, it's not as painful. It's not as anxiety driven as it needs to be. But that's what I try to do. I try to really drill down into the data, into the stats, into what's happening out there, what's the real story, and try to give people an honest opinion. And you know, some people like it, some people don't.
But at the end of the day, it's an opinion, and that's all it is, and that's
right?
all you're trying to do is give some. You know, some people take it, oh Vince, you're wrong, or Vince, yeah. And listen, we're going to be wrong. Yeah. Sometimes our opinions aren't going to be correct, but that's okay. At least we're still out here trying to help, right? And that's what's important.
And you know, it's funny because, you know, when you're out in the media and you're out in social media, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever, you know, people, you're open game, right? You got to take the hits with the good and whatnot. And you know, people say, well, Vince, you're always a variable guy. You know, you always promoted the variable. And I said, yeah, I did. You know, I've always been a strong proponent of variable. You could go back on every episode on CP24. I've always said the variable's a winner. Now, having said that, I never put anybody in a static payment variable. I think they're garbage. They're a terrible product, and it put people in a lot of tough situations. The products we always recommended, whether it was Scotiabank, a monoline lender, okay, was a true variable. Prime goes up, your payment goes up. So you now have an opportunity to call me and ask me what to do. Now, when you see a constant stream of rate increases month after month after quarter, for the last year and a bit, it's been nothing but rate hikes. You get clued in because you get a notice. And when people call me, it was a very frank discussion. Okay, do you want to lock in? Because you can.
Yeah.
It's free.
Yeah.
It's no penalty. Automatic lock into a fixed rate. It's your choice. What do you want to do? We qualified you at the stress test rate, so you know you can make the payment. What do you want to do? And it was always a discussion, and everybody made their own decision, but they always knew where they stood, right?
Yes.
And that's the key. The key is you have to give people the option. You have to give people the choice. We make the recommendation based on their current situation. The qualifying rate and the stress test, I think, was the unsung hero in all this, because it actually helped a lot of people know what their parameters were and what their limits were.
Right.
So, you know, listen, everybody's got an opinion. I try to be honest. I try to be very blunt. And if I got to look somebody in the eye and say, maybe it's time to sell, because I don't want you eroding your equity to private lenders and sharks out there.
Yes.
Because you're moving the wrong way. Sell.
Yeah, man, see how many times you see a lot of people taking seconds on it just to maintain things, and then all of a sudden, you know, they just keep falling deeper into that black hole.
And that's the problem. You know, you have to help people from themselves, because sometimes they can't even do it themselves. So you try to do your best to help them.
They don't understand it, and rightfully so. That's what our guidance here as professionals are, is to go out there and hopefully direct people to try to make the right decisions as best as we can. So, you know, based on that, you know, Vince, what would you recommend to somebody who's in that situation right now, who stayed on the variable? They didn't lock in. Mortgage is $800,000, $900,000. Those payments pretty much doubled in monthly payment plans.
I call it the Buzz Lightyear mortgage, right? They're on the amortization that's infinity and beyond, right?
Yes.
Like this is it's comical almost, because they're almost on an interest-only payment. And these are people that got caught, right? They got caught in a product that was poorly advised. It was a shitty product, the worst designed product in the history of mortgages, as far as I'm concerned. I'm on record as saying it. I don't have a problem saying that. I think both the lenders and OSFI did everybody a disservice. Agreed. Not changing that product when we hit the bottom, because anybody that was taking that product when we're at the bottom, you're not going into negative rates, so it's only going to go up.
Yes.
So if it's going to go up, that means your amortization is going to exceed where you started.
Yes.
Because you're negative. That's a problem.
Sure, because right? you're never paying off. You're not putting nothing towards payments of that property or the principal.
Yeah. Now,
right?
If you bought in the last few years, you're in trouble. You bought 5-10 years ago, you're okay because you got equity.
Yes.
Right.
But it's still going to be tough for that person who even has the equity as these rates go up. I believe tomorrow there's a big announcement. So this is going to air next week sometime. So we're still going to make it.
Everybody knows what's going to happen.
Well,
the rates
yeah.
are going to go up. So,
well, sure. But, you know, at the end of the day, that's even, you know, it hurts. It hurts for that person who's in that variable. As those rates go up, now they're going to be dealing with more struggles and not being able to afford that payment or taking from Peter to pay Paul, you know, and doing what they need to do. When does it break?
Okay.
You know, when does it stop? And that's the concerning part for me is.
So tomorrow, when the Bank of Canada makes their announcement, and I'm banking on it going up, we're going to break the 7% threshold on retail prime. Right?
Wow.
We're sitting at 6.95 right now. A quarter point takes us to 7.2 on a. That's the rate they use for your line.
That used to be a private. That used to be a private rate for. I remember getting a private for somebody at 7-8%.
Exactly right. So now, if you're in a HELOC, you got large balances on a HELOC. You're looking at probably prime plus a half. So you're now 7.2 plus a half. You're 7.7. 7.7.
I haven't seen that in 20 years of being in business. I haven't seen that kind of number.
16 months ago, we were at 295, and now we're at 770.
Yeah.
So
it's going to pinch.
That's almost.
It's concerning.
Like it's almost a triple. Right?
As rates go up, values will start coming back down, which I don't understand is what happened with the spring market from last year. As these rates still continue to rise, the values of these properties also continue to rise.
Yeah,
you know, it went down. It went down for that period of time, right? In 2022. Going into 2023, January was still slow, but we just came out of a very strong spring market. Now, things in the summertime are really taping down to be a lot slower, over $2 million. Because $2 million, people can't afford their payments anymore. You get into $3 million, that was like buying a house for $4 million, right? That's the difference on it. And a $3 million product today is very hard to sell. Now, what's selling right now is anything below $1.5 million. The $1 million products, I'm still seeing multiples work. But on the detached side, over 1.5, there was a house in Valora Village listed at around $1,699,000, and the house was beautifully renovated. I say it had about $400,000 in renovations and had a pool. Didn't sell. They canceled, relisted the product, put it back on the market, you know, just listed under $1.2 million. So, like, is this going to continue now, and we're going to get this roller coaster ride within this market? And that's what's very confusing.
And that's what we talked about.
And that's what people are confused about right now.
And that's what we talked about before we got on, right? Like $1 million mortgage is a $7,000 payment.
It's a $7,000 payment,
right?
Yes.
So, you know, you get into that $1.5 million number, even with 33% down, you got $1 million mortgage. That's a big payment. Then you got your property taxes, your utilities, and all that fun stuff. So it's expensive, and it's gonna cause things to break. And if you're in that below 1.5, I think you're good. You know, you got help from your parents. We're seeing a lot of people get, you know, down payment help from their parents. Mm-hmm. We're seeing additional people on title. I've never seen so many applications where there's more than 2 people on title in my career, and I've been doing this for 30 years. It's very interesting. It's something that I truly believe the construction of the household is going to change. Mm-hmm. With these rates for the foreseeable future, you're going to see multiple people on title, maybe multiple families on title, where they're going to share the space. Mm-hmm. You're going to see builders starting to shift the way they design
Try
property.
to get as much density as possible on these sites.
You know, with a walkout basement, secondary entrances to homes. I think you're going to see that change. I always chuckle when I see on TikTok these folks in Brampton cutting doors with these giant cutters. You know, for $1,200 they'll cut your door. That's all these ads are for, right? Is they're adding additional entrances in the house.
For sure, including
chopping up the basement. I don't know if it's permanent or not.
Yeah.
But it's crazy, right? So the way people will live will change. I think you're going to have more people in homes than ever before. You know, I was driving up here, and while I was at a stop sign, I was reading one of the articles I research, and there's a picture of an ad from a landlord. He's not selling rooms, okay? You know, he's not selling a unit. He's not selling rooms. He's selling beds. So he's selling beds in a room. That's crazy. And that just shows you that this influx of population growth is getting to a level where we still have a housing problem. This country still has a housing crisis. And that will prop up values but it's still going to cause an affordability problem because the way that the makeup of that buyer is going to change dramatically because they need additional incomes to service that debt because it's just too expensive.
Enjoying this episode? Subscribe to our channel and leave us a comment down below to let us know what you want to learn next. Make sure you're following our Instagram and TikTok to stay up to date on our new episodes every Friday.
It is confusing for many people right now that I deal with, and I see it just because I'm having many conversations on it. We are seeing inventory rise within the market. I think this morning I checked. We just hit over the 15,000 available units, and that's including condos throughout the GTA. So there's active listings out there, just over 15,000. We haven't seen that till probably since May or June of last year. Sales are down right now for the month of June, but that was expected because after that interest rate announcement, things just really started to taper down on viewerships on our properties. Our showing slowed down significantly. Anything that was over $2 million right now, just sitting on the market, it's struggling to getting deals to the table. With another hike that is going to take place tomorrow, I think that is going to, and being the summer months too as well, we got to remember, Vince, is that the summer are relatively slow. We had a really strong spring. Most transactions, people do want to make that transition in the summertime because they want to move their kids into the new, and most parents, a big marketplace or a big chunk of our market is people that have young families right now. So when they're going to make an upgrade move or buy into a home, they want to try to make that move within that spring market to move in the summertime so that they can set up their kids for their new school, start September. And then most likely in the fall, things will start to pick up again. So is this a problem because it's a just normal down market of a summer market? So banks starting, increasing rates again. And does this turn over to change in the fall and then maybe foresee rates start coming back in the fall? Do you think that rates will start coming back down at one point or another within this year? Or do you think that they'll continue to increase? Or will they stabilize for the remainder of the year? What's your opinion on that?
I think the duration of these high rates is going to be long.
It's going to be long?
I think it's going to be long.
What's long?
18, 24 months.
18's long.
18's long.
18's long already.
I think you might see you might catch a break on some short-term rates moving down, but I think for the most part, this Bank of Canada wants to start seeing some things break. And
it has to be. It's intentionally going that way because if you look at the inflation numbers that are down and are continually going down, how can prices continue to go up?
Well, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the city of Toronto. I smiled when I crossed the border coming up here because you guys are so lucky. 905 is so lucky.
Yeah.
Okay. You only have one land transfer tax. You have a mayor that is progressive, like it wants to grow. And I think Toronto's going to be in trouble. I got poked a little bit on social media for my comments, but I think what Toronto's going to be facing in the next few years is going to be a shit show. It's going to be an absolute shit show. And you're going to see property taxes go up. You're going to see developers just pack up and wait.
Well, you got Olivia Chow's new affordable housing program that's going to be starting to kick in, right?
Which is a total gong show, right?
Total gong show.
So she wants to build...
Doesn't make any sense to me.
So she wants to build 25,000 homes. She wants to do it through a company called Create TO. Create TO will be a developer. And she wants to expedite permits. She wants to eliminate all the development charges, all the parkland dedication fees, all the charges associated with taxes to that development, okay? And she wants to basically build homes without all the red tape and bullshit costs that every other developer has to use and build, right?
Yeah. And then have the taxpayers also pay for it as well.
But get this. 70% of those homes will be rented at market rates. 20% will be rented out at affordable housing rates. The definition of affordable housing rates, this is in her platform because I read it, is 80% of market rates. Still fucking high, right?
Yep.
Like, it's not a deal.
Yes.
Only 10% of the affordable housing units that she claims she's going to build is going to be based on income, right? Where the maximum rent that will be charged is 30% of the household income. It's a sham. And 25,000 homes in 7 or 8 years is a pittance.
Yes.
Now, they do have 8,000 parcels of land. The city has, I think, 20,000 acres available. So they do have the land at a zero cost base. It's going to be interesting. It's going to
it could make some money for sure for the city. I can see that.
What will the developer feel competing against this? The developer that is building rental units or is trying to build rental units had to go through all that red tape.
And now you're competing against them. Yeah.
I'm waiting to see how this plays out. I think the good thing is we got a new mayor, has made some promises, and it's not a full term. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Like at the end of the day, there's I think it was 1.89 million eligible voters in Toronto.
Yeah, it was a small turnout.
She won with 14.1% of the vote.
People got to get out and vote more, right? If they want legislation to change, if they want to get the right people in power to make significant change.
102 candidates.
I don't think that's going to make any damper or pinch into what our housing crisis is right
102
now.
candidates.
You're not going to be able to get
right. How do you run an election with 102 candidates?
Yeah, you can't.
My dad says I can't go vote. I can't. How do I find the person? Like I could barely see.
Yeah. You're going to go read all of their platforms? Really? 122? Who's got the time for that? Even if I did have the time, I think that's pretty boring.
As I said, you're lucky up here.
Yeah. All right, so let's spin it off. Another topic I want to talk about today is the cost of goods. And before the show, me and you were having some conversations in regards to that too as well. And if we look at, and I just did, I'll give you an example today. There was a building that I leased out here in the 905, and we're looking at the industrial rates or in the commercial sector really, really high right now as well. Very low vacancy rates. I think it's 0.5%. So there's not a lot available for people if they want to upgrade their business or choose to either even downsize. Some are getting forced to downsize because their buildings or their space is too large. And now with the current rates at $20 net a foot plus TMI, which are running between $4 and $5 a foot, things are getting pretty expensive. For an example of a building that's 27,000 square feet here in Vaughan today is going to run a tenant just on the net figures at around $500,000 a year, which will give you a ballpark around $46,000 a month. TMI is going to be running around $5 a foot. You're looking at about another $11,000 a month on there. So just to maintain a building is going to cost a business $60,000 a month, which is around $600,000 a year. You're talking rental increases. I remember for years they went up between $5 and $6. But I'm getting somewhere with this, and I'm going to ask you a question on this. Now, for that business now to survive, his employee rates have all risen and are rising. People want to get paid more right today because the cost of goods are so expensive today. Insurance has risen. His building cost so everything has risen. Gas has risen, to distribute that product. So the guy, let's just say, who's in the marble granite business, who's selling granite slabs to a fabrication company to fabricate that granite, his prices will have to go up because at the end of the day, consumer is going to pay for the increase in the cost of that rate that he's just paying for, that new rate that he's paying for. You got to remember, this guy's coming out from a rate that's $9, $10. He's now got to renew with his landlord, and it's at current market rates. It doesn't work as residential where you get your certain increases or bump ups. These guys can raise that rate at the current market rate, which is now double the price of what they were originally paying for. That cost of that good is now going to increase. How do you see, in your opinion, cost of goods actually going down based on what I just told you?
They will not go down. They're going to keep on going up. And the reality is inventories are sitting. They're not moving. And these big corporations have to hit their targets, right? Mm-hmm. So they gotta get their revenue numbers up. So what's happening is they're selling less at higher prices. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing shrinkflation. You ever notice a bag of chips, right? Used to be 220 grams. Smaller. Now it's like 140 grams. Like what the hell happened?
And the other part is just filled up with air.
It's like what happened, hon? I only had my hand in here 3 times. It's gone. Like this doesn't make sense.
The packaging stays the same, but the amount of product that
It's
you're
all
getting in
there.
that bag is all there.
So everything will go up. Everything will continue to go up. And, you know, we have to scrap this carbon tax. I think it's just bad policy during this time. And we will see product continue to go up because as immigration comes into this country, people are going to consume stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So groceries are going to be under pressure to be found. Like sometimes you go to Shoppers Drug Mart, you can't find certain drugs. You can't find kids' medication. Not on the shelves.
So why not put a hold on this immigration? Why not limit the amount of immigration that we're going to receive into our country right now?
You know,
if we can't support those numbers, why are we continuing to bring that amount of people in?
So that's a very good question. And I think the way to answer that is we got to dissect what immigration is, right?
Yep.
So as of the last quarter, I think there was 1.2 million people that came in here.
That's a lot of people.
740,000, I believe is the number. Correct me if I'm wrong. 740,000 were non-permanent residents. So they're not fully ticketed. They need them for labor, they need them for this, they need them for whatever. Mm-hmm. Most of the services that are required are most of the jobs that are required are service-related jobs. We don't produce anything. Mm-hmm. This country doesn't produce anything.
It doesn't, really. No, we thrive on real estate.
We service
the Toronto market's all on real estate, right?
We're a service nation, right?
Yes.
We have an aging population. You know, I've just gone through this exercise trying to find looking at old age homes for my dad, and we're doing the tours, and it's startling that they don't have enough people, PSWs and workers, to help these folks.
Yes.
So we have an aging population that needs help, mostly service providers. That's what's coming in, mostly service-related employees. And if they can't make a go of it, they're not staying. So I think you're going to see an exodus in the next 12 to 24 months of people coming here saying, this doesn't make sense.
This is not for me, yeah.
Because they're the lowest paid people, and they can't live here because you can't start a family in Toronto. And if the work's in Toronto, they got to commute 2 hours. No one's going to do that.
Yeah.
So this is where I think things start to break because the cost of everything is going up. People can't afford things. And we're going to have to do with less. I don't know how people are going to react to that. That's what's going to be interesting. And that's what I'm really trying to put my thumb on and drilling down. Are people going without?
Right.
Like, how much are they going without? Mm-hmm. That's going to be really the story going into the next little while to see if people really start scrimping and saving.
Yeah, it's going to be, and that's why I think right now, even on the real estate market itself, and I'm going to spin this back into that, is there's a lot of people right now that are back against sitting on the fence because they're scared. They're scared of a lot of stuff that's going to go in, and it just keeps going. Okay, we're not banks dropped rates. Let's start buying again. All of a sudden, banks raise rates. Let's continue to start shopping out there and looking at the market again. And it's very volatile right now, and it's very worrisome. And I feel sorry for new immigrants that even come into this country to realize how difficult it is for them to get into the market.
And that's why I'm sensitive to the immigration question.
Yeah.
Shutting off the taps isn't the right answer. I think there's people that could really help this country, bring some new ideas.
Sure.
There's some great talent out
trade
there.
business too as well. If we're going to be trying to put up all these houses, we need people to work the trade job, and nobody really wants to do it.
But I think they should have a fresh start.
Yeah.
They should have a fair start. Right? Not be up against the wall living in a basement on a mattress. It's not going to work that way.
Yeah, Vince, it's one of those things, but it was a pleasure to have you on again. I think we're hitting some time. I think we got to go live on the live show Tuesdays at 4 p.m. On Instagram. Vince, you have your own show as well every Thursday at 4 p.m., I believe?
Thursday, 4.
Yeah.
Wise Old Owl Show.
Yeah.
I think we're up to episode 138.
Wow.
Never thought I'd do it.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. Really enjoy it.
We are on episode 28 of Revealing Real Estate Podcast, man, which has been really good. Yeah, our viewership is really good. We got a very good following base too. We're so proud of it. And this is fun.
And listen, I got the YouTube channel going now, and it's going apeshit crazy. I'm surprised. Like we hit like 1,600 followers or something like that, and I'm just surprised at people wanting to tap into that, and that's a whole new audience. So it's kind of interesting. It's a lot of fun.
Well, your TikTok numbers are huge. What's your TikTok following now?
I don't know.
You're up there. You're in the millions, though, right? I think
no,
you're over a million.
I'm 24,000 or something.
Oh, 24,000. Sorry,
20, I think it's 20 or 24,000.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't. TikTok's funny. I can't get into TikTok.
You know, we had one guest on. It was an young accountant group of guys that came on.
Oh yeah, they were really good.
They were really good, and we one guy went viral, hit 500,000 views. Man, my followers went from 1,000 to like 7,000. We were like, whoa, look at this.
Yeah, that's my son.
It's fun when you get well, your son. It was your son that had the million or something, I believe.
He's got 4.5 million.
4.5 million. Yeah. Imagine that. So that's pretty good. He's getting endorsed right now.
He's having a lot of fun.
Good.
You know, he you know what? He's
very bright, bubbly boy. I see him all the time. Yeah, my kids know who he is too as well. They always say, "Oh." Time. I say, "Listen, if you want to meet him, let me know. I can set that up."
He gets all these invitations. I said, "Why don't you take me to one of your invitations?" He gets invited to these Netflix movie premieres and carpet events. So why don't you take your dad?
Well, he doesn't want to hang out with you now.
I'm taking a friend. Yeah. Okay. But always a lot of fun.
Thanks, Vince. We got to do this again.
We will.
Thank you for coming on.
Looking to buy or sell? Call a team you can trust. Don't believe me? Our Google reviews say it all. Put us on your lawn, your house will be gone. TheOPteam.com.